Hello, how are you? My name is Professor Aftab Khan, and you are my international students, and I'm teaching you economics. And yes, we discussed so many things in the past, and in the continuation of those lectures or those chapters, we start our lecture today. Today is a very interesting lecture, and we discuss the branches which relates with economics, and which relates. We also discuss a chapter which is of economics, production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Okay, so yes, we start our lecture now. uh, at first, I will give you a little recap to further flourish your concept regarding economics and what is economics is again. Economics, as we discussed in the past, that it is a study of social sciences which tell us the studies of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. Okay, so economics focuses on the behavior and interactions of economic agents and how economies work. Microeconomics analyzes basic elements in the economy. It's including individual agents and markets, their interactions, and the outcomes of interactions. Individual agents may include, for example, households, firms, buyers, and sellers. Okay, and macroeconomics analyzes the economy as a system where production, consumption, savings, and investment interactions and factors affecting it. Okay, the employment of the resources of labor, capital, and land, currency inflation, economic growth, and public policies that have impact on these elements. Okay, other broad distinctions within economics, including those between positive economies, which describing what is, and normative economics, advocating what ought to be. Okay, so there are two types of economics. The first one is the positive economics, which describe what is in our pocket, okay, and what is going on, how much we can buy and how much we can consume, what is our demand and what is our supply. This is known as the positive economics. The second one is the normative economics. My dear students, normative economics, basically it advocating what ought to be between economic theory and applied economics. Normative economics theory, basically it deals with the theories of economics. It deals with the evolution of economics. For example, if we discuss in the past, for example, Adam Smith. Okay, Adam Smith was the father of economics. We discussed Adam Smith was the first person. He invented the concept of the division of labor and vice versa. So this is known as the normative economics. This normative economics always, for example, when you find this word in economics, normative, always we remember that this economic term normative deals with the theoretical concepts, deals with the evaluation concept. For example, Adam Smith, okay, the division of labor, and Lord Bernhard, Ibn al-Hatham, and many other science, Plato, which we discussed in the past lectures. So these are the normative economics, which advocating the evolution of economics between economic theory and and applied economics, between rational and behavioral economics, and between mainstream economics and heterodox economics. Okay, economics analysis can be applied throughout society in real estate business, finance, healthcare business, and government business. Okay, in the government business, in the sense of the monopoly, we discuss about monopoly, a wholly solely one state agent or the seller in the market. For example, this electricity company, this is known as the monopolistic approach. Okay, and the family law, politics, religion, social institutional war, science, and the environment. So this is known as the economics in terms of normatives. And the positive economics, it deals with the For example, demand and supply, division of labor, production, consumption. Okay, elasticity of demand, law of elasticity of supply, and vice versa. Opportunity cost and vice versa. So this is known as the positive economics. So always we remember, economics has two senses. The first one is the positive senses. The second one has the normative senses. So in the positive senses, demand and supply rule, law of division of labor, okay, elasticity of supply, law of elasticity of demand, etc., etc. These are the things which we gonna discuss in the positive economics. And in the normative economics, all the theories, all the evolutions, from starting from the Adam Smith, and maybe it's ending towards the latest economics, which people are making in today's to 2020 2000 and 2020, from 1700 to 2300 years ago. So these all theories, these all evolutions, which start from the Adam Smith division of labor, land, labor, and what is a division of labor which we discussed? Land, labor, and capital, LLC. Okay, which we invented by the Adam Smith. These things are known as the normative economics. Okay, so the multiple aspects of economic science, it deals with the discipline was renamed in the late 19th century, in the primarily due to Alfred Marshall, from political economy of economics as a shorter term for economic science. At that time, it became more and more open to rigorous thinking and made increased due to mathematics, which helped support the efforts to have it accepted as a science and as a separate discipline outside of political science and other sciences and other social sciences. Okay, so there are a variety of modern definitions of economics. Some reflects evolving views of the subject, or different views among us economists. Okay, and Adam Smith, who was a Scottish philosopher in 1776, we can say that he is the father of economics, and he is a scholar who was the first economist who made the division of labor. And it also described when the also called the political economy as an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations, in particular as, for example, a branch of science of a statesman, okay, or legislator, with the twofold objectives of providing a plentiful revenue or substances for the people, and to supply the state or commonwealth with the revenue for the public services. Okay, Jean Baptiste, who was also a scientist in 1803, distinguishing the subject from its public policy, it defines it as a science of production, distribution, and consumption of wealth. On the satirical side, Thomas Carlyle coined the dismal science as an epithet for the classical economists. The science, it describes the science which traces the laws of such of the phenomena of science as arises from the combined operations of mankind for the production of wealth. Okay, insofar as those phenomena are not modified by the pursuit of any other object. Alfred Marshall in 1890s, he was the first person who made the principle of economics. These are the two subjects in our business also. The first one is the principle of economics, which we are discussing. In the principle of economics, the two branches came into being. The first one was the microeconomics, and the second one was the macroeconomics. Micro means small, which belongs with the individual level. Macro means larger, which belongs with the government level. Okay, so Alfred Marshall describes the economics is a study of man in the ordinary business life, where it inquires how to get his income and how he uses it. Thus, it is on the one side the study of wealth, and on the other, or more important side, as a part of the study of men. Lionel Robbins, 1932, developed implications of what has been termed perhaps the most commonly accepted current defined definition of the subject. Leonard Robbins in 1932. So this is a story of 90s, starting early 90s. We can say this, that economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends or scarce means which have alternative uses. Robbins describes the definition as not classificatory in picking out certain kinds of behavior, but rather analytical in focusing attention on a particular aspects of behavior. The form imposed by the influence of scarcity, he affirmed that previous economists have usually entire their studies on the analysis of wealth, how wealth is created, production, distributed, and consumed, and how wealth can grow, how wealth can consume, and how wealth can grow. Okay, we can say this, and how wealth can increase. Okay, in terms of profit making, in terms of revenue generation, and etc. etc. But he said that economics can be used to study other things, such as war, that are outside its usual focus. This is because war has the goal winning. It is sought after and generates both costs and benefits, and resources, human life, and other costs are used to attain the goal. If the war is not winnable, or if the expected costs outweigh the benefits, the deciding actors, assuming they are rational, may never go to war a decision but rather explore other alternatives. We cannot define economics as the science that studies wealth, war, crime, education, and other field economic analysis can be applied to, but as a science that studies a particular common aspects of each of those subjects. They all use scarce resources to attain a sought after end. Okay, so some subsequent comments criticized the definition as overall broad in failing to limit its subject matter to analysis of markets. From the 1960s, however, such comments abated as the economic theory of maximizing behavior and rational choice modeling expanded the domain of the subject to areas but previously treated in other fields. There are other criticisms as well, such as in scarcity not accounting for the macroeconomics of high unemployment. You know, Gary Becker. Gary Becker, who was a famous economist in the late 1990s, he has a strong contribution to the expansion of economics into new areas, which describes the approaches. He favors a combined assumptions of maximizing behavior, stable preferences, and market equilibrium, used relentlessly and unflinchable. One commentary characterizes the remark as making economics an approach rather than a subject matter, but with great specificity as to the choice process and the type of social interactions that such analysis involves. Okay, the same source reviews a range of definitions included in the principle of economics textbook and concludes that the lack of agreement need not to affect the subject matter that the text treat. Among economists, more generally, it argues that a particular definition presented may reflect the direction toward which the author believes economics is evolving or should evolve. Okay, economics writing date from early Mesopotamian, Greek, Roman, Indian, subcontinent, Chinese, Persian, and Arab civilizations. Economic percepts other throughout the writing of Boeotian poet, although other two groups who later called mercantilist and psychocrats more directly influenced the subsequent development of the subject. Both groups were associated with the rise of economic nationalism and modern capitalism in Europe. Mercantilism was an economic doctrine that flourished, from the 16th to the 18th century in a prolific pamphlet literature, whether of merchants or statesmen. It held that a nation's wealth dependent on its accumulation of gold and silver. Nations without access to mines could obtain gold and silver from trade only by selling goods abroad and restricting imports other than of gold and silver. The doctrine called for importing cheap raw materials to be used in manufacturing goods, which could be exported, and for state regulations to impose protective tariffs on foreign manufactured goods and prohibit manufacturing in the colonies. Okay, about the classical political economy. The publication of Adam Smith, The Nation of Wealth, in 1776 has been described as the effective birth of economics as a separate discipline. The book identified land, labor, and capital as these are the three factors of production and the major contribution to a nation's wealth, as distinct from the psychiatric idea that only agriculture was productive. Okay, so before we were saying this, that in this world, in the 1776, in the late 1776 era, it was the era of Adam Smith. He was the person who invented this idea that agriculture was the only source of economics. Okay, so and in the agriculture, the land, labor, and capital are involved. These are the three factors. These are the three economics factors which are highly involved in these factors. And of course, those were the old ages, 300 years ago and 400 years ago approximately. So Smith discusses potential benefits of a specialization of the division of labor, it including the increased labor productivity and gains from trade, whether between town and country or across countries. His theorem that the division of labor is limited, but the extent of the market has been described as a core of a theory of the functions of firms and industry and the fundamental principles of economic organization. To Smith has also been ascribed the most important substantive proposition in all of economics and the foundation of resource allocation theory. And under competition, resource owners of law of labor and capital seek their most profitable uses, resulting in an equal rate of return for all uses in equilibrium. It adjusts for apparent differences arising from such factors as training and unemployment. Okay, so in the argument that includes one of the most famous passage in all economics, Smith represents every individual as trying to employ any capital they might command for their own advantage, not or that of the society, and for the sake of the profit which is necessary at some level of employing capital in domestic industry and positively related to the value of products. Okay, in this he generally indeed neither intends to promote the public interest nor knows how much he is promoting it by preferring the support of domestic of to that of foreign industry. He intends only his own security, and by directing that industry in such a manner as it produce may be of the greatest value. He intends only his own gain. He is in this, and as in many other cases, led by an invisible hands to promote an end which was no part of his intention, nor is it always the worst of the society that was part of it. By pursuing his own interests, or frequently promotes that of the society more effectively, that he when he really intends to promote it. Okay, there are many other scientists, but Adam Smith's division of labor. He actually he was the first person who describes this classical approach, and uh, he is very true on his way. Because everything is based on agriculture in the world. Always be remember, my dear students, because in the field of agriculture, all three aspects: land, labor, and capital involved in this. Land is a place where a labor will work, and with the help of the capital means investment. With the help of the investment, you will do the business, and after the business, you will get the profit. So, this land, labor, and capital, the three aspects involved in every walk of life, and vice versa. Okay, while Adam Smith emphasized the production of income, it focused on the distribution of income among landowners, workers, and capitalists. So Ricardo saw on an inherent conflict between landowners and on the one hand, and labor and capital, on the other side. He posited that the growth of population and capital, pressing against a fixed supply of land, perhaps up rents, and holds down wages and profits. Ricardo was the first country, was the first to state and prove the principle of comparative advantage, according to which each country should specialize in producing and exporting goods, in that it has a lower relative cost of production, rather relying only on its own production. It has been termed as fundamental analytical explanation for gains and for from trade. Coming to an end, uh, you know, this is the value. This theory has some value and has an importance in the classical theory. Smith wrote that the real price of everything is the toil and trouble of acquiring it. Toil and trouble means the labor which do the hard working. Okay, and toil means the capital which the investor are doing in the form of the investment. This is known as the toil and troubling. Okay, so Adam Smith, basically, my dear student, was a great economist, and Adam Smith, he was the first person who invented these concepts of the division or the production of labor, and it describes the main concepts of, you can say this, that the division of labor in a best manner. Okay, so basically these are the things which we gonna discuss, and these are the things which is very essential for the economics point of view, and basically we have to make some corrective actions to we have to know some corrective actions to improve the overall strategic performance of the business organizations. And economics also has some value. It has some advantage. And in the field of economics, we can say this, that economics has some a lot of conceptual things which we gonna discuss, and it has some value in our life. This concept has a great value in our life standards. So economics, basically, these are the things which we gonna discuss in the field of economics. And in the field of economics, we discuss so many things, and I hope you will learn this thing. And Marxism is also a theory. Marxism, Marxist, who was also a scientist in the new classical era, and later Marxism economic descends from classical economics, and it described from the world of Karl Marx's. The first value of Marx's major work, Das Kapital, was established in Germany in 1867. It in Marx's focus on the labor theory of value and the theory of surplus value, which he believed explained the exploitation of labor by capital. The labor theory of value held that the value of an exchange commodity was determined by the labor that went into its production, and the theory of surplus value demonstrated how the workers only got paid a proportion of the value their work has created. New classical economics. So these are the theories which are known as classical economics, and we can say this, that these are the theories which we're gonna discuss to know about economics in a positive manner, in a surplus manner. Okay, and economics is a science, and it is a very interesting science, we can say this. So in the field of economics, so these are the concepts which we're gonna discuss in today's lecture. I hope you will learn this, you will enjoy this, and if you have any comment, you can send me an email, and you can also send me in the cyber law, in this website of cyber website or student server. You please, I'm repeating my request, and all of the students, please submit me all the assignments on time. There will be no final exam, because there will be all online learning because of the coronavirus. All semester will be online, and I will give you the grading online, and I will not take any midterm exam, I will not take any final exam. I will take the grading on the basis of your assignments, online assignments which I already given you, and online project submissions. And it's a very easy thing, and all the things you have in your fingertips, you can make it with the help of the proper referencing. Submit it to me on time. I promise you I will give you a good grading if you will give me the assignments on time. And I'm requesting you again, those students who have not submitted me their assignments and projects, please send it to me as soon as possible, so I will give you the grading, and there will be no midterm exam and no final exam because of the coronavirus. So thank you very much. Till then, goodbye and best of luck.